If you marry somebody and neither one of you have anything and you build $300 million together, you deserve half. But Johnny was $300 million in when they met, and I'm quite sure she knew. And Johnny, hey, I'm Johnny. She was like, I know who you are, motherfucker. And they got married, broke up, shit didn't work out, and then he had to give $150 million of his money. And don't get me wrong, ladies, I know a lot of housewives sitting out there going, well, you can't put a price on what I do. But ladies, if you marry a man with $300 million, you ain't no regular housewife. You ain't got to clean the house no more. You get a maid. You ain't cleaning shit. You marry a man with $300 million, you ain't cooking no more. You eating out. You marry a man with $300 million, you know how a lot of housewives got to get jobs on the side to help make ends meet? He got $300 million, the ends are meeting like a motherfucker. What you gonna do, get a job at a boutique on the weekends and shit? Say, here, Johnny, I made $70. Put that with the rest. Now we have $370 because I want to do my share. No. All you have to do, you marry a man with $300 million, is fuck your husband. That's it. That's your job. Fuck your husband. That's it. That's just fuck your husband. You fill out a W-2. They say, what you do? You say, I fuck my husband. That's it. And I've had my share of pussy. I have yet. Even if the pussy was great and sparks shot out the woman's ass and cannons bled and the mountains crumbled and the seas roared, no pussy is worth $150 million. No.
Target acquired.
Eagle 1, first strike. You have permission to engage the target.
Warning. The following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Welcome back, guys. We are live once again, and yeah, you know, I should probably put the warning before the Eddie Murphy video. I don't know, maybe. I don't know. Hope everybody out there is doing good today. It was a late night last night and early morning this morning, so I am dragging just a little bit. You guys will have to pardon me. Kat's not going to make it on today. She is, not necessarily feeling the best today. She's going to she says she's going to rest today, and hopefully, she'll be on tomorrow night. I'm sure she will be. We'll see. And yeah, we're going to have a great time today. If you caught last night's show, especially the end of last night's show, it was quite entertaining, and I had fun with that. And then went to bed because that's how it works. The interesting thing is that the fellow then on the other side of that discussion honestly felt like I was angry or something, and I was actually never angry. I just I thought it was funny, I thought it was really funny, and sometimes poking the bear is great. It's just great. So that got a couple of things we're going to talk about today. Nothing like super heavy, nothing super huge. There's there's just a lot of stuff going on out there. I could go in so many directions today. Feminism, whataboutism, all the isms. There's so many isms out there. It's just crazy that it's just crazy with all the isms today. I don't have any isms. I'm fresh out of isms. So if somebody has something to loan me, that would be great. If you got some isms that probably could spare, probably not. Probably wouldn't. I wouldn't object to those. I kind of wanted to be in on Andrew's TikTok raid last night, but unfortunately, I had to go to sleep, and it's just way of it. Hi, Lola. How are you? And Devon and Ryu. Did I say that right? Ryu. Speak up in chat, guys, and I'll answer you and throw stuff up there. It's gonna be good today. I can just feel it. I'm gonna change glasses though. So, there we go. All right, got my geek glasses on. I'm in my proper format. Freshly showered, shaved, laundered, fluffed and folded. I'm ready to go. I don't have anywhere to go, but I'm ready to go. What? I think it's fucking pathetic that idiot actually went over onto Josie's live stream last night and was bitching and moaning over there as well. It's classic L. It's an L, folks. It's an L. So before I get started, does anybody have anything that they want to talk about? They want to discuss burning topics in the back of their mind, things they've been wondering about, places they got to go, things they got to be, that sort of thing. And then I'll kind of dive into myself. It's round robin round here, so just go ahead and throw shit out, see what sticks. Welcome, Garrus. Welcome, Jack. Just another average Canadian. I call you Jack. You're just going to have to live with that. Rye Guy has a question for us. I've got a question I'd love to hear your take on, brother. If you were president, what would your policies change to help deal with school mass shootings in the U.S.? Firearms education's in the school. Bring back Eddie the Eagle. Bring back all of that. Get rid of the zero tolerance, no weapons on campus policies. Just trash those. None of those obviously do not work. Kids bring weapons to school all the time. Concealed means concealed, so you don't know. You have no idea. People are just dumb. It's interesting when the head in the sand type policies just always end up fucking us harder than anything else. And it's just crazy that people thinks that stuff works to begin with. I mean, it's just, I can't even, in my mind, I don't understand how you expect it to work. So I'll get to the CCP comment in a minute. Just give me a second. Because I really do want to address the firearms policy, the weapons policy in schools. We used to have shooting programs at every school. Rifle team, you had clay sports, all of that kind of thing. And it's an interesting deal right now where like most of the schools that have, matter of fact, I've got a picture I'm going to put up here. I'm going to look for it while I talk. Every school that has a policy of actually like having shooting sports as part of their curriculum, or a team like a clays team or air rifle team or whatever, those schools tend to not have problems. It's the ones that are so crazy over the top that almost always have problems. And I'm not saying that, that they can't have problems if they do, but I'm just saying it just seems like a line can be drawn fairly directly to this stuff happening. And before we had this zero tolerance policy, which by the way was proposed and passed by Joe Biden when he was a senator, he's directly responsible for that. Before we had this zero tolerance policy on campus, I remember when I was in high school and every other pickup truck in the parking lot had a rifle rack in it with a rifle in the rack, and nobody shot up schools. Period. It just didn't happen. There's no other way to phrase that. It just did not happen. So that's I don't know what else I can. I mean, I'm gonna put something up here in just a second. Let me drop down out of that and come back to you guys because I'm looking at my computer. But it is really an interesting thing. I really hate head in the sand policies where it's just I would just ban it for everybody and then that'll solve the problem, because it never solves the problem. So there's actually right now there's a school. This is in Colorado. And I'm going to put this up on the screen so you guys can see it. I assume that it's going to pop up here. Give me 1 second. Let's see what to do with it. Why is this not? Hang on. I got something going on here. Give me a sec, guys. I'm trying to Trying to get this, understand why this is not working here. Oh, there we go. How about that? All right, here we go. All right, look at this, guys. You see what it said? Can you guys read that? I don't know if I can make it here. Let me. So what that basically says is that please be aware that certain staff members at Weldon Valley School are legally armed and may use whatever force necessary to protect our students. That's how you solve the problem, guys. That is how you solve the problem. And that would be, assuming that I was the guy and I could do it. That would be the first thing I do. Is every single school would have that sign up. All right, so I'm going to move on. So that's it. What are my thoughts on the CCP comment? Look, guys, I'm going to be honest with you. I have a Chinese wife, and there's none of that. That just doesn't mean anything to ask the average Chinese girl anything about, should Taiwan be is Taiwan a country? Is Taiwan its own nation? Is Hong Kong its own nation? Look, they don't care about it, right? It's not even part of their world. It's not. It's like so far out of what they think about every day. It's like me asking if Hawaii should be let go as a state. It's just I don't even think about it. I don't think it's harsh at all. I think it's just kind of a silly thing, but it's fine. People can. I mean, why wouldn't you answer? I guess the other side of it is why not just answer the question, because it really doesn't mean anything. Why did that disappear? I had that up. Okay, there it is. On the subject of schools, how do you feel about DARE? Would you change? Is DARE a policy? I thought DARE was just like a program. Can you help me out on that, Garrus? I'm not really sure I understand your question. Network's pretty bad, so I have some delay for now. Are you in the U.S., Lola, or are you on the other side of the pond somewhere? I'm just I know that last night I had some issues with my internet at the very beginning of the program, so I don't want to, assume things. We've had a lot of storms in the U.S., so you just can't can't assume things that just because we live in the U.S. everything's going to work all the time. So yeah, that's good stuff. I mean, I'm a huge fan of people understanding how to do things. It's a program. Yeah, thank you for correction. Do you think it's beneficial? I do think it's beneficial for some people. It's like any other program. I think it's beneficial for some people. I think its importance is overemphasized, just like most programs. They really are not like the end all be all. So I don't know that it's a big thing. Kat has joined us. We're going to add her to the stage. Hello, Kat. How are you today?
Hello.
I thought DARE was phased out. I did too, actually. I'm surprised that Garrus brought it up, but I do not have a kid in the public school system, so I have no idea about DARE. So maybe Kat does. Maybe Kat knows about that.
Yeah. My daughter just took it.
Yeah? What'd you think?
I mean, I wasn't there for what she learned, so I don't know. But I mean, I really think they're too young. They don't really understand what's going on. They don't know anything about drugs. I think middle school, not elementary, it should really start.
Right. Yeah. I agree with that. I think middle school, like 7th grade, 8th grade, something like that. Yeah. I think that's more appropriate. Yeah. You live in South Africa, Lola. I'm sorry. Don't you guys had some trouble down there recently, a couple of years ago? 307 Coyote Killer, believe it actually increased drug use rates. Could be. I mean, I don't have an argument against that. I don't have any I don't have any basis of analysis for that. Fantastic stream last night, guy and gal. We know which one is which because very obvious. There's no confusion there. I know on some streams there can be confusion as to who is who, but in this one there never will be. You missed out last night, Kat. The guy that's always making the weird comments, the fidgety guy.
Yeah.
Oh, he and I went toe to toe. He made a really ridiculous statement, and I called him on it, and he just crawfished. And I mean, I cursed him up the side of the building, down the other. Told him I'd meet him behind the woodshed. I really did say that, actually. So I'll take you behind the woodshed, and it was just very funny. I was having a good time with it. 10 plus 5 equals, I don't know. That's a new joke. Millennial, they teach it in Ohio still. Okay. I mean, I believe that they still teach it. I don't have a kid in public school. Nick says, good morning. He was, I think Nick was here for the entire show last night. So that you're a trooper, man. It was very hilarious how it went after you left. It became a brawl, and you missed out.
What did he say? What was the comment?
So the comment was that the reason that in 2021, he made the comment that in 2021, the rental, so the conversation started off that normal people can't buy a house anymore. And I said, no, that's false. Normal people can buy a house. They just don't want the houses they can buy. And that's just a simple fact. And I pointed out that my brother, who is a normal person, he works in a factory. He's not like me. He does not, he's not an overachiever, anything like that. He purchased a house and paid $110,000 for it in 2020, I think, maybe 21. Right. But it's probably early 2020, 110 grand for it. It's on, I think, a quarter of an acre, but it is not a nice house. It's small. It's technically 3 bedrooms, but it's really more like 2 with the closet, with a large closet attached, like there might be room in there for a twin bed, and a dresser, but qualifies as a 3 bedroom. It's old. I think it was built in like the 70s, maybe the 60s. It's brick. It's just a normal house. And there are plenty of houses like that out there for people to buy. They just don't want to buy them.
Well, in defense of him, because I don't know.
Yeah.
It has to be close to where you can work. If there's no jobs in the area and you can't live there, I mean, what's the point?
Yeah. So that was part of his contention, but I disagree with that because I literally every single place in the country you're within an hour. There are houses like that within an hour of where you want to work. Even in California, even in the Bay Area, you can find cheap houses. Now you're not going to want to live in them because they're small and they're old and you're not updated and they don't have marble and they don't have granite and they don't have, LVP flooring and they don't have all the cool stuff that everybody wants, but you can find those houses, but nobody wants them. Nobody wants to buy that. So his next comment was to back up his position was that because of 14 million illegal immigrants, and the housing vouchers that they received, that had in 2021, that doubled the prices of rent and housing.
No, that wasn't it. It was before that when they started buying up all the houses and holding them. Right.
And I told him that the reason that's the reason for that was a combination of inflation, predictable interest rates climbing, and remember now in 2020, you could buy a house at 2. If you had good credit, you get 2 1/4, 2 3/4. If you had medium credit, you get it at 3, 3.5. It went from that in the space of a year to 5, and it kept going. Right, we hit I think 7 and almost 8% interest rate on mortgages by the end of 2022, and going into 23, and it creeped back down in 23, but here we are in 24 and it's still at I think today it's at 6.5, I think, or 7. So it hasn't creeped down that much. And what happened is people started buying houses. Now the other thing that happened is we had COVID going on and people were fleeing places like New York, California, and all of these places that were locked down to places like where I live, and they could sell $1 million house in California and buy a $500,000 house here, and they were paying $40,000 over asking. And that drove in 2021, that's what drove the market up, along with low interest rates, along with impending inflation and higher interest rates. And the cherry on top was BlackRock coming out, going into 22, posting a $1.7 trillion loss, which is like unheard of for hedge funds. And that, if you don't think that moves the market, you're insane. And he was just he was like, no, it was illegal immigrants that caused this, and the policies allowing them to rent houses cheap with these vouchers, these housing vouchers. I'm like, nobody takes those. I mean, they're not buying $600,000 houses with those vouchers. They're not renting $2,000 or $3,000 a month condos, apartments, and houses with those vouchers. They're renting trailers in trailer parks, which is literally every trailer park in my area. You probably can't throw a rock without hitting an undocumented person. You should throw a rock and hit them, I guess, but that's another subject. And he just would not let it go. So I asked for proof. I'm like, look, that's a bullshit claim. That is total horseshit. You made that up. You fabricated that. Prove it. And for an hour and a half, he gave me all kinds of bullshit and no proof. He literally gave me an opinion. It literally said opinion in the title from The Hill, which is a liberal magazine, an opinion about how immigration was causing a swing in the housing market. I'm like, what? It literally says opinion. Those are not facts. And it cited, it was using as reference material the National Association of Realtors data, which they're trying to sell houses. None of their data means anything. Like, it's the worst data possible. You can't trust any of it. Even when the White House does their surveys now, they use data from Zillow and Redfin and Realtor.com. They actually use that data because that data is based on MLS and actual sale prices and public records, whereas the NAR data is not. The NAR data is based on like some voodoo formula that they came up with to be able to show, that houses are going up and you need to buy right now. And if you don't, you're going to pay more tomorrow. And that's what that's for. And we went on for like an hour and a half, and I called him at least 8 different kinds of motherfucker. I told him to fuck off. I told him to get his shit together. I mean, it was quite comical. I had a great time. Great. It was fun. And but you just couldn't, it's one of those things that it's a good tagline, right? And I hate when people do this. They do it with everything. They do it with everything from sex, relationships, food, work, why they can't get a fucking job, why they can't get a house, or why the whole world is going to hell. It's just a tagline. Well, it's all these immigrants coming in causing the housing market to double in price. I'm like, I wish it would double in price because I haven't been able to raise rent since 2021 over $100. Like, we're at what the market will bear. If I raise it, my house sits empty. People who rent houses don't like their houses to sit empty. I like to rent my house in under a week. If my house sits empty longer than if I have the people move out, I take 2 weeks to clean it. That that next week I want to have it rented. Like that's all the money I want to lose. And it's really crazy how people just do not get this. And they do it with everything now. And at the end he said, I wasn't wrong. I was imprecise. He typed that. He didn't say that. And he wouldn't come on to debate in person. And I'm not even a debater. I don't like to debate because I'm brutal. It was very interesting. I don't know if anybody here saw it. You can go watch it. It starts at 3 hours and 50 minutes in, and it just goes downhill. But why is it getting to the point where people speak in taglines and generalizations that have no basis in reality rather than just have honest conversations. Do you have any idea about that? I couldn't come up with anything. I've been trying to think about it, but
People don't research, they let somebody else do it for them, basically. Or they just pick up a couple things that they hear from the media, and if you repeat something over and over, it's hypnosis and you believe it.
okay, yeah, yeah. I think they just hear it and it sounds good, or they just pick and choose little bits of information, and then they jumble it all together, and this is now their opinion. Like,
Well,
none of it
yeah,
actually works.
that's what humans do naturally. We're just like picking up information from the environment, and if someone has an agenda, they can throw the information for us to pick up, and then we'll think we're coming to our own conclusions, but we're not.
I mean, that's pretty based, honestly. These people think everything is rigged with price gouging.
Yeah, I get mad when they start blaming landlords and like saying, "Oh, it's the landlords are greedy and that's why we have all these problems." I'm like, "What are you
I am
talking
greedy.
about? That doesn't mean like they're trying to make people hate people who own property to create like a divide." And I know that they did that like in my dad's country before like it went to hell. They started telling the poor people, it's the people who own the land, the people who own the property, they're your enemy. We have to, you know, get the land from them. They shouldn't be able to own this land, blah blah blah. You should be able to take the land from them. And then that's what stirred up all the unrest in the country, and in a couple
Sure.
months they overthrew the whole government. They took all the property and all the wealth from the people who had earned it, and then they gave it to the poor in like this very weird way. And then the new people who came into power were like, "Oh, we'll buy that from you for this price." And since they didn't know how to make more money and they didn't know about investing, they didn't know about like how to make money off of what they got, they sold it, bought like a Lamborghini, and then we're broke. And then we had famine. And it's just like they keep doing these cycles again. That's how you overthrow a government.
Yeah, no, that's pretty base too. That's really like that's pretty lit, to be honest with you. That's it's an interesting thing because as a landlord, so my wife is brutal about this kind of thing. Like, she wants the most money, period, and she doesn't care if people don't like it. I'm a little bit more gregarious, I guess you would say. I want people to like me as a property owner. I want people to enjoy living in my house. I want, if somebody calls me with a problem, I take care of it like right then. Like, I don't want to be that guy that everybody's like, "Oh, he's a shitty landlord. He doesn't care about anything." I hate that. But by the same token, I'm not out there to cut my own throat and lose money every month. If I lose money every month, guess what? You don't have a house because the bank owns it and I can't rent it to you. So it is a symbiotic relationship that people just don't seem to get. And now my rule of thumb is I take a look at the market in the area for similar rental houses, and I'm $100 a month under. That's my rule of thumb. And I literally, if anybody believes that there is a problem right now and that people can't rent, that the market is bad, I put my house up for rent. I put my house up for rent on Zillow, only on Zillow. I did not put it anywhere else. I put it on Zillow. That day, I had 20 inquiries within the first like 3 or 4 hours. I actually turned it off because I had so many inquiries. I can only process so many. I sent everybody the same message. I'll show the house. This was on, I think, Tuesday. I show the house on Friday. You're welcome to come by. You can go look at the house in the meantime. Don't try and go in the house. Don't break anything, but you can go look on the property, but bring all the information. Show up on Friday. I do the walkthroughs. I'll be there all day. I was there from 8 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon. I'm there all day. And I basically take notes on every person that comes through. And who I think is going to be good. I'd look at all their paperwork. I use a pre-qualification process, so I know that that they have a good job, that they have they don't have. And the only thing I really care about, people ask this all the time, like, why is it so hard to rent? It's not that hard. The only thing I care about is if you've been evicted. If you've been evicted in the last 5 years, I'm probably not going to rent to you, and probably nobody else is either. I'm just gonna, that's just the way it is. So you can't have that in your history. But I have all of these qualified candidates, and then Monday I took all weekend, thought about it. Actually, was out. I had told them that I would be out of town for 2 days, so that it would actually be Wednesday when I got back to everybody. I have people calling me all weekend, and I just ignore it because nobody, there's just a process. It's an A to B process, right? Like, and I don't deviate from that process when I'm interviewing prospective tenants. And no kidding, like, and I've done this before. Everybody will come by and say, "Oh, I want it." And then I call them up and I'm like, "Hey, you're the first two guys in line said they, that they've already found somewhere. Do you want the house? No, I don't want the house. I've also, I looked at something on Saturday and went ahead. We're going to go ahead with it. We liked it better." And I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." And then I think it was like the fourth or fifth person on my list that actually, and it was the actual people who I knew that they loved that house the most. And if there was there were two ahead of them that I thought might also take it, but actually the people that I thought these are the guys that are going to rent this house were the ones that they, they were like fourth or fifth on the list. And I got down there and I called them up and they're like, "Absolutely, we'll take it." And it took me from start to finish, it took me 8 days to rent my house. 8 days. And that's me being slow about it. Like, I could have done it way faster. I could rent it the first day it was up. But, and I don't subvert I do not subvert my process at all for anybody or anything. And, but I do that because it's the fairest way I can do it. It protects me. It protects them. It's a process. Why would people have a problem with that kind of but I do have people who all the time have they act very hurt. So it's very, very interesting to me. What do you think? Does that sound like a reasonable process? Or
Yeah, I mean, I don't see a problem with it. I know that my stepfather, he owns like 100 or 200 properties. A lot of them are in low income neighborhoods. He got them when the economy was really bad for like $5,000 a house. So he got like a whole neighborhood in a bad area of town.
Sure.
Renovated them. And I think he put them in Section 8. And it was just interesting because he would have all these problems that you mentioned, but with lower income, there's more problems, but he was just so good about it. He would go there and be, like very understanding and whatever, and help them out. And then they would always pay. But then my mom would be kind of like yelling at them, like trying to get as much from them and like being rude to them and being like, "You're not gonna, whatever." And it's just like the very different bad cop, good cop dynamic.
Oh, yeah.
So they would, pay so that she wouldn't go to the house.
Right. Well, and that's so I don't like that. I don't like that because I'm a very, I don't deal with I deal with confrontation in a very specific way. Just like like usually I try and deal with it with humor, because if I actually get angry, it's just all bad. And so I try and deal with it with humor, and I try to be very patient. But really I try and minimize all my problems on the front end. I try and front load success. I look very heavily at their job, their income. If they've moved to the area, I look at their past job history, and people lie. I had my first bad tenant in like 10 years the other day or last year. And I was like super nice with him about it. I put up with it as long as I could. I'm like, "Dude, you got to get out." I said, "There's two ways this can go. I'll start eviction proceedings, and in 2 weeks, the sheriff will show up, and all your crap's going to be on the lawn. And I'm going to ruin all your credit. You have an eviction. You'll never be able to rent anywhere again. And, in Tennessee anyway. And it's just going to be all bad for you. There's no upside for you on this. I will not I'm not going to threaten you. I'm not going to touch you. I'm not going to come over and bang on the door every day. That's just not my style. But I promise you, this will end exceedingly poorly for you. You have a choice. There's 2 ways that this can go. And I said, the other way is that you pay me X amount, you move out, and you don't damage my house, and you just go away. Just get out, just go away. And that's the route he chose. Exactly. I kind of felt a little bad for him because his wife fucked him over pretty hardcore, but he kind of did it to himself too. So, but it's and I've got I got typical landlord stories. I'm I would and I got called a slumlord last night, which I would have honestly. I would love to be a slumlord. I mean, I'm an aspiring slumlord. I only have a few properties right now. I need to up my game a little, become a proper slumlord. I need to buy neighborhoods. I need to be like your stepdad. But too kind-hearted. Why is it that men and women typically fear the woman like if you have a couple, the woman getting involved when it comes to, or in a lot of cases, like, oh, I don't want to have to tell my wife about this. She's going to get really angry and she'll call you every day and all. Is that kind of is it this example of how psychotic women are in high school and how just deranged they get when they break up with you or you
I
say the
think
wrong
it
thing
goes
to them?
back to they started raising women like men and men like women. So the men are soft and sweet and get, steamrolled by everyone. And then the women are hard but they have anxiety. They're neurotic. They should not have that power. They can't deal with it. And it just destroys them. And, because they're so anxious, they lash out at everybody because they don't want that responsibility.
That's pretty solid. That kind of fits, but I don't know that that's 100% true, because if you look back, at least in Western history in America, if you look back to, people often like to say, well, women never worked. They just stayed and took care of the house back in the 1800s and further back. And that's actually not true. A lot of women worked. I mean, women worked as in laundries. They worked as seamstress. A lot of women had jobs. Now, they worked in the home. They didn't actually go to like a factory or anything for the most part. In England, maybe, but not here in the U.S. That wasn't necessarily the truth. But here in the U.S., even in the wild, wild west, or on the frontier, or, in olden days, as we like to call it, it is true that women stayed home. They didn't actually have a job per se, but they ran an entire household, right? Like they had farm hands or ranch hands, depending on what you were doing, to manage. A lot of times they handled the sale of produce from whatever gardens, or like the men would handle the large stuff, like if you had a crop of wheat or corn or tobacco, or if you were a rancher and you had like 1,000 head of cattle and you drive that from the middle of Oklahoma down to Texas or up to Missouri to get rid of it and sell it. That's the men would be doing that stuff. That was like large scale. That was their job, right? And that's what brought in money and all that. But women also managed the entire rest of that household, which was often huge and very complex and had a lot of moving parts. And I don't think it's fair to say that women are not suited to that, because I think they really are. I think that you can say that modern women have had so much responsibility pulled from them in very specific ways, and then pushed back at them in a very toxic and maligned manner, to the point now where it's up is down, left is right. You don't know which way to go. I would say that that's closer to the reality. Because again, remember, women would have to, at least in Western society. Now we can talk about tribal cultures later, but in Western society, women had to do that, and they had to be strong. I mean, to be really strong. and and women have lost that. I think most modern women have really lost that. I know that when I was growing up, my mom always admired the frontier and the frontier women and the plantation wives that oversaw entire farming operations all over the country, because it takes so much strength, inner strength, to do that and still be a woman, right? And you're right, to your point though, you have to have this balance, and I don't know that modern women are taught, trained, or given the tools to do that.
Yeah, I have two different backgrounds. So my mom's side, they were very middle class to lower middle class. None of the women ever worked outside the home. It was always taking care of the kids. Even though they had low income, they had maids, they had cleaners, they had what's it called?
Right.
Cooks that would come in.
Yes.
They had all of these things.
They ran a whole
to
household.
help them.
Yeah.
Yes, and there was multiple generations, so they were in charge of helping the older people in the family, anyone who was sick, other unmarried relatives would usually be within the property, and they were helping everybody and organizing all of that. And then I have the extreme 0.1% upper extreme, insane, ridiculous, unrelatable wealth from my dad's side. These women had armies of people to organize.
Sure.
They did not even spend that much time with their children, but they had people that they would hire for their entire lives to stay with the children.
Yes.
The nanny would be there even after you left and got a new family. Like, you could, if the nanny was still alive, like, you had to take care of that nanny until she died. It was usually unmarried women who like didn't have anyone, and then they would come when they were young and be a nanny, and then you took care of them until their deathbed. So you never had that you never had that anxious, avoidant type attachment as you do when you sever the attachment for a child so that the caregiver goes to work or you put them in school or daycare. You didn't have that problem. Everybody was securely attached. That nanny was for your whole life.
Right. Yeah. Right. So in my wife's culture, now of course there was a big issue, right, in her country, cultural revolution, all that, and that reset a lot of things, and not always in a positive way. But one of the things that did survive is this. So like when my wife's grandmother was older, she had daughters, and when the daughters would come and take care of her, but they also hired poor relatives, nieces, from other other parts of the family. They would bring them to their home, give them a place to live, pay for their schooling, and in return they took care of the household. My wife would say, my grandmother's nurses, but they weren't actually nurses. They were the housekeeper, they were the nurse, they did the shopping, they did everything to manage the household for this older lady that could not do it anymore. Right? They dressed her, they bathed her, they were live in effectively nannies. And there were always two of them, and it was a real thing. And even in just regular families, to take care of children, to take care of houses. It was a very common thing for families to do that. And it's an interesting thing that in American culture, or most Western cultures, where you would think that would be the case, where like if I had like my my brother's my brother has a son by marriage, a stepson, that I tried to help out. Right now, he didn't live with me or anything, and he didn't help me, but I would throw him work, and I would pay him to do it, and I would help him out. It's interesting that in American culture we don't have that anymore. We did, we really did, and we don't now. And it's very interesting that and we can put a lot of that blame on modern feminism, breaking up the nuclear family and trying to push everyone apart into different little boxes. But it started even before that, though. It started with this idea that the family unit is only your immediate family, and I think it's really interesting.
I heard that was because they were trying to sell mortgages. And so they had to invent the idea of the nuclear family. And then they had to say, oh, you didn't leave your family's house, so you're not really a man. You have to go out there and start your own family. And like, oh, how sad it is that you've lived in the same town your whole life, and like make it out on your own bootstraps.
And you live in your father's house. Right. Yeah.
So they shamed people.
Right. Yeah. And it is a real shame. It is a mark of shame. We like modern men today, where I tell young men all the time, go home. Why are you getting an apartment? Why are you doing that? That's dumb. That's money that you could be putting in the bank. Go live at home. Well, I can't live at home. I'm a grown ass man. The hell you can't live at home. My mother and father-in-law lived with me. When my first son was born, they arrived the day before he was born. They didn't leave for 5 years. It's just part of the culture. The grandparents take care of the children so the father and the mother can work. It's part of the culture. And by work, this doesn't necessarily mean work outside the home, but run the house. That it takes the workload off of the mother. That's part of the culture. So now they got trapped here because of COVID. They came for a visit, couldn't leave. But when my 3-year-old was born, they're still here. They live in my, I don't have a guest room anymore. They live in my guest room. And that's fine. And they do shopping. They, unfortunately they clean the house. I don't like that. I prefer to clean my own house, but, I don't have a problem with that. Right. I mean, it's a little weird, because I'm really pretty traditionally American, post 1940s America. So this is my house, and, but I think you're right. I think you're really right about that. That's a really solid point, that modern, that after World War II, there was this huge notion that to be a proper man, to be a proper woman, you needed to be out on your own, and not live at home. And I think that's very interesting. I think that's really interesting.
I remember when I was growing up, I would see movies and things with women living in apartments on their own. And I just thought that was like so weird. Like, why would you move out of your house unless you're married? It doesn't make any sense to move out before you're married. In my worldview, it was just insane. And I grew up in a very Latin community. Everybody stays in their home until they're married. Sometimes they'll wait until their kids are older to move out of the parents' home because they need the help.
And that's what I was about to ask. What do you think about, how big an L do you think it is, or is it an L at all, to live with your parents after you're married?
I think it's great if you can. I think it's beautiful. I think that's ideal. My kid's living with me. Her husband is moving in. I don't care.
Okay.
We'll just add another floor. That's what they do in my dad's country. You add another floor. You just build up.
Okay. All right. I'm going to answer this. As a female, you have to be nice, never bitchy, but firm in order to be respected by men. That's actually really true. Men do not. If the minute you come off as bitchy, the conversation kind of goes in a very poor direction. You have to let them know you aren't going to be manipulated by emotion. That is pretty true. Did I ever listen to Bruce Williams' radio show back in the day? Nope. I don't know who that is. Maybe I'll look it up. I get asked all the time about radio stations and different radio stations. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that it even existed. As a female, you have to show men you are open to negotiation, but you aren't going to let them take advantage of you. It's a very hard balance to strike. I do believe that. I do think that's true. However, I think the idea that most men are out to manipulate women is a self-fulfilling prophecy in women's heads. most men really aren't out to manipulate you. They just want you to be honest with them. But the way that women interact with men is it almost without fail will at least partially come off as kind of deceptive. And so men are immediately on their guard immediately. And usually because, you know, they've been lied to so many times that they just don't believe you anymore. Not you personally, just, you know what I mean. You hit the head on the nail on the head. We are unbalanced today, both men and women, that is. Yeah, that's true. I can go with that. Caucasians are, for the most part, aren't that way. I wanted to get the fuck out of my mom's house ASAP and did so at 17 because I regarded it as a shitty situation. Now, this is an interesting statement and comment because I do think that's accurate. I do think that and it's across the board. It's not just Caucasians. I think in modern society, between the schools, your friends, movies, TV, all forms of media, once you're about 10 years old, you are bombarded as a young person, male or female, with the idea that your parents aren't cool. They don't know what you want. They don't know what you need. They're fucking old. And you need to listen to whatever the latest, greatest deal is, because that's what you need to be. That's who you need to be, and that's why you need to be it. And I find that to be complete crap. I don't know. You got some feelings either way on that, Kat?
I don't know. I just think it's all messed up. I think parents have kind of lost themselves. They've become more narcissistic. They've become more self-involved. They're having children for the wrong reasons. They don't understand the role that they play in raising their children. They're letting other people raise them. So they don't have the bond with them. So then, they think of them more like an impediment to their life than the reason for their life, which is weird.
Yeah. But
yeah, things are just a little bit, everything is upside down. The whole world.
It is. I'll go with that. I'll throw. I read this. Left on my 18th birthday. My dad and I hate each other. Daddy issues. Would rather be homeless than live at home again. Yeah, I mean, I have a weird perspective on this because I went to a military school. I spent a lot of time on my own. Which is, just part of what shaped me into who I am. So I didn't need to live at home. I actually lived. I got out of school. I lived at home until I was midway through my freshman year of college. And if it had been a better situation, just from a convenient standpoint, I probably would not have gotten my first apartment. I probably would have stayed in the house situation that I stay with either my parents or my grandparents. But unfortunately, the convenience factor of those didn't work with my college. And I just didn't have that. I never had those walls to break down, I guess. So yeah, I don't even watch football. But did you see people get triggered over what the NFL player Harrison Butker said at the Catholic graduation? I didn't see it. I'm not that cool, man. I don't follow such things. I don't have any idea. Kat, do you have any idea?
No sports.
No sports. Can you give us a synopsis? Can you just throw it up in a post? Tell us what happened. Tell us what he said. It's a really interesting discussion today, Kat. It's really good. Because I think that it does say something about people and how they choose to live their lives and how they choose to move forward in life. And it shapes you. It shapes you in a very specific way. Because if you think, that you are ready for the world at 18, then you're probably going to push your kids in that.
Or if you were pushed at 18 because people think I had to do it, so you have to do it. Or a
Right.
lot of traumatized adults have that I didn't die mentality. You can deal with it too. Or they have to justify the pain that they went through. Like, this made me who I am. So
Mhm.
they traumatize the next generation, and it continues. That's how like family traumas get. I had to go through it, so you can deal with it too. Or I wouldn't be who I was if I didn't go through this type of situation. When in reality, if you go through the really healthy, successful family lineages, they help each other. They don't throw each other out and say good luck. They have like trusts for their children set up. They have, you know, a whole bunch of things to help them, and they don't throw them out and say good luck, because I was thrown out. So like, why would you repeat the same thing over and over? Like, they don't even see that they're repeating it. They just think this is coming of age.
Do you know who Reeves Calloway the third is?
No.
I think he passed this year. His dad was Reeves Calloway, obviously. Callaway Golf. You may have heard of them. And super wealthy, super old money. Reeves Calloway II told Reeves Calloway III on his 18th birthday to go make his own fortune. And Calloway said that he hated his dad for it initially, but he valued the lesson that taught him in life, because up to that point, he had had everything in life that he had ever asked for. And he had a massive dose of reality when he walked out that door. And he made a fortune. I mean, Callaway, the Callaway Engineering, which is he ended up based in Germany. He did great things with the Corvettes. He's really a model of success, and he attributed it all to the fact that his dad said, "Go make your own fortune. I did it. You have to do it."
I hear that, but when you go through the most successful families for thousands of years, like 5,000 years, they don't do it like that. That's a very new money way to do it. I had to suffer for it. You suffer for it.
I think it was
That's
an old
new
money.
I
think
don't
they're
know.
old
I don't
money.
believe that.
I think they're
Okay,
pretty old money.
There's
But
difference.
I think that I think that it was a tradition in the family from way back. You know, like, and I don't know how the Callaways made their money to start with, but it's like the old in the olden days, the wealthy traders would send their sons to sea early and make them work in the lowest jobs. And I remember reading the story of a hotel chain owner, and I forget which one. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm making things up. I don't want to just spout off a name and it be wrong. But there was a hotel chain, and they actually they ran up, pretty upscale hotels back in the 30s. That's where they got their start. They just built one after the other, and they had all these great hotels. The son worked as a bellman, right? Like the lowest position, like opening doors for people. He worked every single job in the hotels under the best people, so that when it was his time to take over, he knew every job in the hotel. He knew
I like that. That is good. Not kick him out and say I did it.
Right.
That is good. That is parenting.
Right. And he and it was and he was literally told when he was put in every position. Obviously, after the first time he was told, he understood it, but every time he was moved, he was told, this guy has total authority to fire you, to send you home, and if you get home, then we're going to have a long talk about your future, because you're not privileged here. You're here to work. You're here to learn. And I thought that was great. And I've studied actually wealthy people, and not necessarily wealthy people, but people who've done well over and over and over again. And there's a couple of different themes that evolve or that emerge. And one is that they treat their kids very well, but they also treat them to a lot of humble pie, a lot of it, where they grow up knowing that not only do they know they have it well, but that they can lose it and it can be gone in an instant. And they have to be every bit as good as the people who built the fortune in the first place. So there's that side of it. And there's the side like Calloway, who said, you've had a perfect life up until this point. Now go make a perfect life for yourself. I see it both ways. I do see, and I think it comes down to personality of the person you're talking to. You got to go?
Yeah, I got to
go. All right. Oh, well, we're having such a great conversation.
I might be in the chat if my phone doesn't overheat.
Your phone doesn't overheat? What do you got, an iPhone or something?
Yes.
Oh, you poor soul.
All right.
I'm sorry to hear that you have an iPhone. All right. Bye, guy. Bye, Cat. Everybody say bye to Cat. Cat has to go. All right. Let's see. I got to go through these. I'm sorry. I was talking and I wasn't paying attention. Wow. That's a lot of chatting going on. He spoke at a graduation and he spoke on having traditional values like women being happier, staying at home, moms being stay-at-home moms, and spoke against the rainbow people. A lot of people are saying he should be probably fired. I would support that view. I don't see anything wrong with that. If they can say, you know, we're homo and we're in your face and you can't do anything about it, he can say, I don't like it. Let's see. My daughter started looking for apartments at 18. I asked her why. I told her to save her money while going to college. She graduated last weekend. Based. Good job, dude. Good job. It popped up in my Instagram randomly. I never pay attention to Instagram. What are you doing for your kids, Max K? Throw me a description, buddy. Let's see. I do think there's value in having a kid go out on their own. It forces maturity when you have to support yourself and do things for yourself. Suffering and struggle creates strength. I think it does for some kids. I think some kids, you have to, as a parent, you have to understand your kids' strengths and weaknesses. And unfortunately, a lot of parents really don't know anything about their kids. So, like my oldest son, he will be one that he wants to be turned out into the world. He wants to be turned out into the world today. Like, he conducts himself as a young man. And he thinks about money. He thinks about jobs. He thinks about all of these things. And he doesn't have the maturity level yet, but that really only comes by being out there and being exposed in those type of environments. They don't do it because they're old money. They didn't earn their money, and neither did their parents. Yeah, that's true. Why do you think communism is so popular with wealthy people? They never had to work for anything in their lives. So that's an interesting comment. I think that it's really popular with leftists because with leftists that have literally been raised in sheltered bubbles of wealth. And one of the I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Aviator about Howard Hughes, and he goes to dinner with I can't think of Audrey Hepburn's family. And, there are a bunch of blue blood New Englanders who have old money, and they're like, well, we don't care about money. And Hughes says, that's because you've always had it. And they never risk anything because they're afraid of losing it. And so that's the problem, is that the people who built the wealth risked everything. The people that inherit the wealth risk nothing. So that's an interesting thing. We see what happens to generational wealth. First guy makes money. By the third or fourth generation, it's all lost because the grandkids have never had to work and waste the wealth. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes that's true. Let's see. And if you work the other jobs and you become the boss, you know what it's like, and you will treat those people better. Yes, and that's the exact point. When I read this guy's book, and I wish I could remember what the title was, I'd throw that out there, but it was a really great read. I read it when I was in college. That's why I can't remember. I just remember like the gist of it. So it's been like 30 years. Why would you devalue your child by insinuating it cannot achieve what you achieved? Of course, with the exception of learning disabled. Sure. By Kat. Kat has left the chat. Kat has things to do. She's a busy young lady. There's making it and there's keeping it. Both are learned and equally important. Yep, absolutely. By Kat. Poor Kat. Just making sure they have make their own fortune. Yeah, I'm not giving them a financial handout. Okay, good enough. Hassan Piker. Shots fired. Shots fired. Read The Underground is a Lie by Jim Goad. I will read that, actually. Sheds light on why rich people and their desire to be loved by the poor. There is an interesting dynamic amongst people who are wealthy and have been wealthy for some length of time. And it's very interesting to me because that's actually a real thing. Like, they really want to be looked up to and loved by the poor who don't want to be their friends. They don't, they don't have nothing in common. And yet they absolutely want to be loved by these people. And that's an interesting comment. I will read The Underground is a Lie. I will read that. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Kat had to go and pick up her children from school, her kid from school. She only has one child, but yeah, she had to go do that. And there's Kat driving and texting. So, don't drive dangerously. So yeah, that's a good discussion so far. Really awesome, actually, for a job talk, and we didn't even curse that much, which is, and by we I mean me. Kat doesn't curse, but I curse all the time. So, let's see. I think that's awesome. I've been to one. I'm not super familiar with it, but I have stopped at one on my trips back and forth from New York. So I can't spend. Yeah, that's usually a new money thing. Arthur Daya. Social street cred that like to play the poor person. Okay. I used my allotment of curses last night. Yeah, that probably. That guy was funny though. He made me laugh. So there's an interesting thing about that, and I was watching an interview the other day where there's a concierge service, for lack of a better term, that's they operate all over the globe, really. And they basically provide the ultra wealthy with new experiences. They're the guys who find the ultra rare Bugatti or the ultra rare Koenigsegg or whatever for these people. They're the guys who like get these ultra wealthy people like backstage at concerts or rock shows, or they into parties for like 100 guests or something, and all of that. And it costs a lot. It's a lot of money, and these guys just pay it like they don't even care. It's crazy. And this guy makes his entire living basically providing things that nobody else can provide. And one of the interesting questions, one of the reasons that I paid attention to it was it used to be that if you had an American Express Black Card, that actually meant something, because you had basically a concierge attached to that card. So you could call up basically any time of the day and say, "Hey, I need concert tickets to whatever," and they had a guy that would get you those concert tickets. Or, "Hey, I need an Uber helicopter to take me somewhere, and they would arrange that for you, whatever it was. Because to get the card, you had to spend something like $130,000 a year, $150,000 a year on the card just to get invited to get the black card. And it just, now it's the same exact. It used to be that way. Now it's the same exact. The same people that I call for my American Express are the same people that answer the phone for the black card customers. It's not any different. And I don't know that they actually do much more for that ultra card like they used to. Got a lot of money. What do you desire next? Feel good. Yeah, that's right. That's basic. That's based. Being originally from Mass, the wealthy are the worst of hyper liberal. Right. They really are. Unless they made their own money. So what I find very interesting is that wealthy people who did not make their money, or they made their money without actually working like in a computer industry, or, they did a mergers and acquisitions, something like that, where they didn't actually spend 80 hours a day building it, or 80 hours a week building it. Those guys, they never actually care. And they mostly are liberal. The guys who work hard and grab every opportunity and scratch that living out of the dirt, those guys are almost always conservative. Titanic submarine expedition. That's funny. I like that. That's very good. They don't even like what they vote for. They're liberal drones and will vote for the same crap they wanted to escape from. That's true. They're liberal until it affects them personally. Absolutely. That is true. And they're actually not even necessarily liberal. They only care about they don't care about the law at all until it touches them. That's it. And you can see this even at low levels in your neighborhood Karen. They don't care anything about laws and they will vote for any stupid law that comes down the pike until it touches them. Once it touches them, then it's got to go. That's a bad law. We can't have that. It is not too early to laugh at that. That's very funny. And because that was a stupid thing to do. So, and, I just think it's very interesting. There's always this push from people who are not necessarily wealthy to look wealthy. And there's a even bigger push by people who are wealthy, who are actually wealthy, to kind of not look wealthy. And I think that's very funny. I'm probably the only one, but it is what it is. So, what do you guys think about all of the tone policing that's going on? I wish Kat had been here for this. I think Kat would really get a lot out of this discussion, and we'll delve into this probably a little more tomorrow night when we open the show. It seems like everywhere I turn now, we've gotten, it used to, it was kind of getting pretty based in the world where you could actually criticize somebody and not be policed down, not be called out, and just for saying words, right? Like people would allow you to say words. And now, unless it pertained to specific groups, which we all know about, now they're expanding that, right? Now you can't even you can't call someone who is actually lying a liar. In theory, I guess I still will. I'm just saying that in most of society, you're not supposed to do that, apparently, because people are getting called out on it all the time. And I think that's a big problem. What do you guys think? Do you think that's a real problem? That's funny. I like that. Do exercises to strengthen your backbone. Yeah, go make money, man. Go make the money. This is the day shift because I expect people to be at work making money and listening as they work. We try and talk about lighthearted things, quick, fast moving, and to just kind of keep everything moving along. And so let's see. Has that ever been different with women? At least in my 29 years, women have always react much more to tone than men. Yeah, but is it not worse now? Like they don't even want you to say something that's unkind. Like you have to be nice. They're not even saying that you should be nice. They're saying that you have to be nice. You can't speak harshly to somebody. You can't say words that are what you mean. Is that yeah, that's funny. Right. I'm I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm just like we'll just see what it takes to burn it down. Like we'll just see. We'll see what the explosion point is. And I just find it very interesting because we've gone from you can't say this about this group to now we can't say this about this other group, and now we can't say it about any group. And I just find that very interesting. And maybe I'm the only one. Feelings policed. Yeah, that's true. Welcome back, Adam87. It could be worse. The overreaching compassion push in all aspects of life has made that tone a lot more important. Could be worse now. It is worse now. I do think I think it is worse now. People are incapable of having someone being critical of them. I'm actually not even talking about using mean words. I'm talking about people are incapable of being or of tolerating people being critical of them. And again, we'll dive into this when Kat's on because I really want her opinion on it. And let me give you an example. So I've been, I don't actually watch a lot of reels or a lot of short format. I just don't have the time. I don't really have a lot of the, I don't even have the desire, to be honest with you, to spend my time that way. But I've noticed that a lot of these videos that are posting up now, they're basically like management says something and it'll be something normal like do your job or answer your phone, make yourself available after hours in case there's an emergency. And it's this it's like you shouldn't have to do okay, I'll make myself available after hours for an emergency as long as you pay me for those hours. Well, that's dumb. Like who would say that? I would just fire people. I did fire people for that because look, you're an employee. There's a commitment to the job. And sometimes it is not, sometimes it's not spelled out. And there is such a thing. There used to be such a thing as being a company man, and I am one. And so we see it in our work environments where people are policing your tone, saying you can't say that, you can't ask me to do this, you can't ask me to do that. Respect my time off, respect my breaks, respect this, respect that. But they don't respect anything about the manager. Like they don't respect anything about corporate. They don't respect anything about the people who put the money in the business so they actually have a job. And that's very interesting to me. I find that shocking, to be honest. And it's crazy. It's nuts. I think that there's a lot of, I think there's just a lot of nonsense being catered to now. And it's all tone police. You can't be critical of somebody, even in a job where you need to be critical of people. So I'm sorry. I kind of got on a rant there. I'm going to go through this. Coal miner. We don't have feelers or feelings either way. Enjoy the topics you cover while being in the same circle as Andrew and whatever. It complements the discussions well. And you know what? I don't, I try really hard not often to parody the things that they do. I really like having my own discussions. Just being real is being considered unkind. Yep. Leads to delusional behavior. Yep. That's true. The generation that grew up with participation trophies now cannot handle being told they need to do better. That's accurate. Come on. That's mean. That's mean. You got to tone down the disrespect. It's not so much people that can't handle unkind comments, but more so people do not like hearing or being told opinions or statements that are at odds with their own views. Okay, that's fair. That, Kevin, you're onto something. You are onto something. Yes, Arthrodia is absolutely correct. They don't like being told anything that conflicts with their worldview or why they're doing the wrong thing or really anything else. And that's very interesting to me. For me, that's like super interesting. You guys are like knocking us out of the park today. Like I mean, I could let you guys run the show. You guys are doing such a great job with this stuff. Yeah. All right. So see, I kind of talked a lot. You guys have anything that you guys want to have? I mean, I know Rye Guy has been throwing out topics left and right. Rye Guy is a rock star, by the way. He gets stuff done. So, and if you didn't know, he does all my thumbnails and that sort of thing. All of the artwork that I don't do myself, he does because I'm not a very good artist. He takes pity on me. And if you need any artwork for a podcast or a presentation, or you just want to spice something up, talk to Rye Guy. He is the man. He gets it done. So yeah. All right. That's great discussion. We're having a great discussion. Yeah, I'm the day shift. Well, I had this. Kevin was complaining that he can't stay up and listen to the show all night because he's a working man, and I'm like, well, you can just listen to it the next day, and he's like, but then I can't talk shit in the comments. So to appease my buddy Kevin, I do the day shift. So that's pretty good. But yeah, let's see. Right guy is the guy. The funny thing is, Zorba will complain about Christians not liking anything that goes against their worldview when the liberals are the ones that screech "Ree!" anytime they are challenged. That's actually true. And it's a very interesting thing that everyone except me, as a male, old, white dude, everybody else in the world can have an opinion except me. If I have an opinion, I am racist, biased, in denial. I mean, there's like a dozen things that I am just by having an opinion, guys. And that's why all of these soup bone, milk toast dudes out there that go along with this not, and you hear people all the time. And actually, I was watching one of Andrew's old debates the other day. This guy Skyler, and Skyler was the most ridiculous debate I've ever heard, and it was on the topic of is religion better or worse for society, or is it harmful to society? Obviously, religion is not harmful to society. It has a lot of positives, and he just really wanted to go off about Christianity, and he was really trying to like score a W against Andrew, and Andrew would not engage on that in the way that Skylar wanted to, and that dude just read the whole time, just sounded like a cluster of hogs over there. We literally have training when we have to correct a resident doctor. We have to start with praise, gently sandwich the criticism in the middle with recommended correction, and end with more praise. That's right. The sandwich, the shit sandwich message. That's right. Do I have a schedule for my life? I do actually have a schedule. I'm constantly making and correcting and re-evaluating a schedule. Like right now, I'm at 2:00. I got to punch out. If I gotta go do stuff, and it's gonna be really interesting the rest of my day. I've got I do a podcast. I do a stream for a group of aircraft guys, airplane racing organization. I host the stream because I'm the comms guy every other Thursday night. So that happens tonight, and then after that, I have a meeting with some other creators about some collaboration and maybe some other cool stuff that's coming down the pipe. Can't get into it. I don't like talking about business. I actually just don't like talking about things that haven't happened. I will talk all day about things that have happened. I really don't like talking about the future because I've had too much shit get fucked up and make me look bad when I talk about future things. We can't just pull them aside and say, what the hell are you thinking? That's why everybody, that's why everybody has such a strong reaction to me, because that's exactly what I say. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, that's one of my things. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you doing this? And that's why everyone has such a strong reaction to the way I speak, because I literally say, what the fuck is wrong with you? Add an unreasonable man. You just start identifying as a non-transition trans woman, and I can say whatever I want. That might be the smartest thing in the history of this podcast that's been stated. I'm going to have to do that. How the hell do you have time for all of that and care for patients? Right. Like, there's all of these layers now. Have you noticed how layered and nuanced your entire world is, rather than just being able to talk to people like people and not get butthurt if somebody says something the wrong way, or have the stones to go to them afterwards and say, hey man, I really didn't appreciate the way you said that. What the hell's wrong with people? I know I'm not supposed to say that. I'm supposed to start with praise. So all of you guys are doing great. You're just wonderful people. Everything's perfect. But what the fuck is wrong with people that they can't just talk to each other and have a conversation and say something that they mean? Which is, I say this all the time. This is a joke that I have, where I say that you don't want me to talk to somebody because I will say something that I mean. Nobody wants to hear people say things that they mean, because they might be mean, and that's bad. We can't have that anymore. We just can't. Sorry. Can't do that. It's old news. Can't do that anymore. Yeah. A lot of feelings. We used to joke about how people would get up in their feels like a year or two ago, and now you can't say that. You probably get canceled. I should probably get canceled, but nobody's done it yet. Somehow managed to tweak this. I don't know what the heck I did, but that's all right. I'll fix it later. That's why everything's kind of jacked up. I should have praised Fidgety, gently corrected him for his imprecise lies, and then praised him again. That was the weirdest thing, is that he just would not, even when I would prove him wrong, even when nothing I'd point out that every single document he posted was an opinion piece. It wasn't facts. It wasn't a study. It wasn't vetted. It was just an article in a newspaper that probably had a retraction printed 3 days after it was put in a print. Whoa, almost lost my drink there. It probably had a retraction posted, and he was treating it like it was the gospel. It was crazy. I've never seen that. What up, Flan Life? What's up, buddy? How you doing? You doing all right? I hadn't seen you in a while. You okay? How's things going? No, he doesn't. I promise you, that's a guy that he's probably an educated man. Might drive a Subaru, but not an Impreza Outback. Or if it is an Impreza, it's the Outback version. I'm thinking he has like the hippie beard, probably, with the clean shaven neck, because it scratches and, doesn't like that. That was pretty hilarious. Yeah, it was pretty fucking funny. I'm good, brother, man. Thanks for asking. Always, brother. I was actually been a little bit concerned about you since the incident, and we can talk later about it if you want. So let me know. Let me know how you're doing, man. Throw me a PM or something. Yeah, that was funny. I popped in for like 2 minutes. I didn't scroll or read or anything, but it did look like she was saying basically the exact same thing, giving the exact same arguments and challenging him, and he just wouldn't let it go. He just kept coming back to, doesn't it make sense that blah blah blah? And I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense. Literally, how can you not do this math? $1.7 trillion just disappears, and basically is taken out of the system, and you're going to put 42 billion in, and that's somehow going to move the needle. It wouldn't have even moved the needle at all. Fudgety, you're such a smart intellectual human. I think you were accidentally misled, but I'm sure your point had some validity. It was just mildly imprecise. No, I'm mildly an unreasonable trans woman. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's I can't do that. I have too much testosterone. Just got out of the hospital. I tore something in my back, coughing. Now all I can think of as I lay there in pain, waiting for pain meds. The nurse was delivering that sandwich of criticism. Ow! Wow, that's a stinger. He kept shouting supply and demand and didn't produce any evidence. And he didn't even actually even after I told him, I'm like, that's not how this works. You can't deny that there's a surplus of housing versus demand. You can't. It doesn't matter that 14 million more people came in as long as there's 100,000 houses in every market for sale, then it completely deletes your point. Let's see. Are you okay? I mean, that's terrible if that's happening right now. You need to get some help. That sounds awful. Hope you're feeling it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hope you are actually feeling better. But yeah, so you guys understand that the reason why I went so hard against Fidgety is that every single stream he comes in and he says a bunch of bullshit about Andrew and Rachel that Andrew has refuted many times, and Andrew doesn't even engage with it anymore because he has said so many times this is what the truth is, and guys like Fidgety will not accept the truth. And so literally every single time he comes into my stream, I could probably have scrolled back to the very beginning of the show and seen where he talks about Andrew, marrying Rachel, a fallen woman, kids by another husband, all this kind of stuff. Can't possibly be a Christian, blah, blah, blah. Praise to false gods, blah, blah, blah. And he just, every single show, he comes in with this bullshit, and I do not engage in it. I did for a little while, but I don't engage in it. He's kind of like that angry Casper guy that haunts whatever and a couple other podcasts. And he really does think he's smart. I don't think he's that smart. Video likes to be the devil advocate for no other reasons and to be a dissenting voice. Yeah, I mean, that's possible. But the interesting thing is when I demanded facts, all he could give me was opinion pieces. Like I took time and I went and found actual data. And then he said, well, I don't accept it because it comes from the White House. I mean, it doesn't matter. The sources were cited right there. The sources were not the White House. The sources were actually from Zillow's meta data analysis and some other sources. Yeah, right, guy. Angry Casper is just, that dude is I would not be surprised if they're the same person because they kind of have that same outlook. But yeah, I torched that guy down last night. And look, I could have let it go at any point. And I started to several times. I started to just kind of like move on, and he would just say something again. And then, you can't, the one thing about cancer is that as long as there's this much cancer left, there's still cancer. So you got to get rid of it. And he was being cancer last night. So yes, I did just equate him with cancer. So that's probably get me canceled. That's all right. I've had a good run. So, yeah. So, Rega, what did you think of I know that you've watched most, if not all, of the exchange now. What was your opinion on that exchange from last night, looking at it from a an impartial Canadian guy view. Did I say that right? Is that Canadian enough? I would really like to understand the viewpoint. If you could throw that out, that'd be great. You get several different viewpoints. He's brutal. He'll never concede on an inch, but his outlook is so dark and depressing. Oh, are you talking about Angry Casper or the fidgety guy? Are you talking about Corinth? Are you talking about Corinth? ZT Den? Because I bet you're talking about Corinth. Corinth is actually fairly based. He's just, I mean, and I think if you really push him, I think he admits his arguments actually don't hold much water. Yeah. I've had Corinth on. Corinth was fun. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Angry Casper is exactly that way. Yeah. I don't even talk to him anymore. You don't understand the topic enough, so I can't speak the validity of the arguments, but I got some notes. Well, I mean, it's not even the validity of the arguments. If you're I guess what I kind of want an outside and anybody can answer this, not just Rye Guy. So when I refuted the data, I did that, and I was very clear that I refuted his data because it was all opinion. There was nothing that he put out. There's nothing that he put forth that was factual. Literally every single piece of data he gave was from a news article, not a study, not a a treatise, not any long, not in any format that somebody who wanted data would use, right? Like you can't use newspaper data because it's almost always flawed and it's almost always biased. So the only place I found even close to unbiased data nationally was the White House website, which used Zillow and other metadata analysis in their evaluation, and it was literally the least biased, which means that the Biden administration probably had nothing to do with it. Yeah, watch it later. Yeah. Oh, you're gonna laugh. You will laugh. You will laugh so hard. I think everybody was about to go to sleep last night, and then I was even kind of like, I'm going to check out a little early, and then that started up, and it kept us going an extra hour ish, maybe an hour and a half. It was great. I think even Kevin might have stayed up for that one. So, yeah, it was a good time. It was really a good time. A bug get in here. What the hell? That should not happen. He's in bed with headphones, trying desperately not to wake her up laughing. Yeah, apparently that was like a story. Okay, I'm going to put this up here. So I'm going to answer to this. I started out that way. I said, "Hey, just bring the data. Bring the data." The longer he stalled, I answered energy with energy. When he was trying to be reasonable, I was being reasonable. When he started to get obstinate and tell me that I didn't know what I was talking about and things like that, I matched energy with energy. Except in general, if the energy I match with is going to be higher output than what most people will put towards me. So I get where you're coming from. As far as personal attacks, yeah, whatever. He deserved it. He should not have said that, exactly. And his last comment to me was about you not bringing receipts, which I simply responded, I can't, I'm not, I won't, not going there with you. Yeah. I mean, I did actually bring receipts. I did do that. I didn't need to. I wasn't the one that was challenging anything. I never actually stated a position. Other than that, he was wrong in his position that, you know, immigration created the situation of a doubling, which is why would you say that? First of all, rent hasn't doubled. A doubling of rent in 2021, and it was just a very specific thing. And he didn't really like that. He really didn't like it. And so I went and found I asked him to prove his point, and I went and found it and gave it to him. And here's your study. Says what it is. The optics only look worse because you're the only one I stream on camera. Yeah, that's fine. Well, I tried to get him on there. I mean, I told him, I was like, come on, man, I'll get you on. And he's like, the interesting thing is that he would not get on stream. And I knew that he wouldn't. The first time he said no, I thought, maybe he will. And the second time I asked him, I'm like, hey, man, come on, just, shoot me a message and I'll put you on, go to Discord, I could have had somebody do it, whatever. And he would not come on stream. He just had no interest in actual face-to-face debating or even face-to-voice debating, which I'm not a debater, because this is the one thing about me in debate. One of the reasons why I don't really actually debate is because I tend to, I match actual energy with energy, and I will not, and I don't, so as long as we're having a calm debate, cool. I'll have great discussion. You and I have disagreed many times on things. We have very calm discussions. On the other side of that, if you start ramping up, I'm going to, if you start ramping up in energy, I'm going to ramp up in energy. And the difference is my energy is usually higher output, and more direct. Because I literally told the guy to go fuck himself. Take him behind the woodshed. I mean, I did say that. That was funny. And you also have to understand that I don't actually have any anger there. I'm not mad. I find it fucking funny. I find it actually funny that you can't that I found it funny he couldn't grasp simple concepts and that he would just hang on to it. Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, if he's going to be a contrarian and come into chats just to fight, you should be willing to speak it out rather than be a keyboard warrior. I agree with that. I invited him on many times, and multiple times I'm like, yeah, come on. And then, of course, I knew he wouldn't. It is what it is. So it was an interesting deal for me because, I had seen his, I had seen that side of him before because, again, he comes in all the time. Or he did. I don't know. Maybe he won't be back. I mean, that'd be great, actually. He comes in all the time and he just, he slams Andrew, on a bunch of religion stuff. And I won't debate religious stuff because I'm not educated enough to do so. And I only really speak to things that I know about. Like, I just don't, there's no percentage in arguing things I don't know about. But like the real estate thing I know about, like I again, I watch that market every day and I argue with realtors all the time. That'll be like, well, the market is going up. And I'm like, there's no damn way it's going up. Literally every listing that posted this week, of all the listings posted this week, literally 90% of them were price drops, not new listings. They were price drops on existing listings that have been out for a long time. There are houses that have been on the market for over 390 days. That's insane. Which means that, the people are upside down in the house and they can't take less money for it. But to have a house on the market for anything over 90 days, honestly, is terrible. Like, you should be able to get your house sold in 3 months. And I've talked to realtors who've had have had a house up for a month and they have one showing. You have to look at the source of the comments. Of course, they would say that it benefits them if they can make you believe it. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I agree with that. But it was funny. It was very funny, and I had fun doing it. And a lot of times you'll find that I just want to, I'm laugh. So the interesting thing about that is every time I would give him a study, which I did, which was not on me to do, right? Like he made the claim. I didn't make the claim. All I did was say he made a very bold claim, and I said, prove it. And he kept asking me for the evidence, and I'm like, why would I do that? That's not on me. Where's my upside in this? And why would I do that? There's no point in me doing it, but I did it anyway, and I gave him his argument back to him, which actually showed that he was wrong 100%, and he just wouldn't admit it. And then I kept putting nails in the coffin, with the construction costs increased by at least 40%, in some areas as much as 75% an increase in construction costs. The labor, there wasn't really a labor shortage, but there was a labor disruption where you had a bunch of people who were building houses and going to town, and then nothing. It was flat, and then it ramped right back up. And the problem is that, if you construction crews, if they're not getting paid, they're not eating. So they will find work. If you leave a construction crew alone for more than, like, if you don't hire a guy, if you're working with a construction crew and you give them a moment's downtime, they will find more work to go do, because they are mercenary and they need to get paid. That's how they live. They have to, they're a lot like wolves. They have to constantly hunt to eat. They do not store food. It's just the way it is. So you had projects that even if the money was there to go back to work, the crews were gone. So it was just a really stupid position for him to take. And it was more stupid for him to just hang on to it and just sit there and go down with that ship. It really was, like, I couldn't believe that he was willing to do that. But he was 100% willing to die on that hill. So I wouldn't have. So, yeah. And then he went over to I find it even more funny that Josie handed him his ass. That's pretty. That's I mean, Josie generally doesn't even really debate. She just like, this is what it is. So I think it was funny. I didn't get to see it. I did make a couple of comments over there, but yeah, you can't fix stupid. I had that on a plaque somewhere. You can't fix stupid. You can often find stupid, but you can't fix stupid. So as we wind down the show, because I do have a hard 2:00 out. What do you guys, anybody else have anything they want to talk about? I think I've talked about the unfortunate fellow from last night enough. Hopefully, I mean, it'd be cool if he came back and apologized and, was the bigger man, but I don't think that'll happen. Anybody got anything they want to close out on? Any questions, comments? Burning desires, inflammation, hip pain, nothing. Okay. All right. That's good. Well, I'm going to close out with a couple of questions. First, oh, wait. I did think of something last night, but I can't remember. That's all right. We'll be back. I'm going to close out with a couple of small things. Why is it that there's so many people that are absolutely comfortable with the idea of lying and acting in bad faith? Actually, dude, right guy, as I'm saying it, being good faith, is there anything you can think of that would be the most liberal take I have? Most liberal take I have. That's a tough one, man. You got me. You pinned me. What most liberal take I've got? That's a good one, man. I don't you know, man, I'm anti-prison. I'm pro reform. I do believe that our prison system is fucked up and we punish people for life. When the reality is the Constitution said, or our prison system originally was set up so that you served your debt to society, and once you serve that, it should be over. I don't know if that's a liberal position or talking point, but I feel like that's my most liberal talking point and something I get a lot of pushback on. I don't believe that just because somebody screws up and has a moment that their entire life is spent paying for that moment afterwards. And we can see how all throughout history it was that way. So it's I just, I don't believe in that. I don't know if that's a particularly liberal talking point. But I 100% believe that our criminal justice system is completely fucked up. Yeah, those guys need to be shot. But like I actually the kid I went to school with got in a fight and he hurt somebody, and then there's another kid that was actually totally uninvolved, but it was I don't want to say it's like an honor thing. It was like more of a like, this guy's basically my brother thing. And the guy ends up in the midst of all this fighting, he killed this other kid. He was a kid. It was a kid killing a kid. That dude's life is ruined. Like, I don't know that he's ever left jail. Like, I think he's probably still in jail. Yeah. So I think there's only two unforgivable crimes, my opinion. I think that pretty much anything against kids is probably pretty close to unforgivable. Now, there is probably some hypothetical argument that you could say, well, this and that and the other thing, and would it be the same? And I would have to say, yeah, okay, let that guy go. So I can't say 100% across the board, but don't let that guy go. He needs to be in jail for the rest of his life. I can see, there's an argument for both sides, but I do believe that our current system punishes people far beyond their crime, and it's not in the spirit of the way our penal system was created in this country. We are a country based on freedom, and we become a country based on walls. As far as questioning, ideology, so you have to understand that I don't consider myself a Republican. I don't consider myself a tradcon or anything like that. I am a constitutional conservative. I'm fiscally conservative, and if it's not in the Constitution, I don't believe it should be there. It's as close to libertarian as I can get, because they're not, libertarians are weird people, and I do tend to vote Republican because they identify the closest to my belief schedule, and I vote much like hand grenades, I vote as long as we're close, we're good. I don't believe that a politician has to agree with me 100%. I've never understood how society paying to house, feed, and clothe a guy while keeping him from harming others is the prisoner paying a debt to society. Right. And remember now, in the way our prison system was originally set up, it was hard labor. You were building roads. You were building a new building in town. It was, hard work every day for that. Like murder was like in the early 1800s, all the way up into the early 1900s, murder was like a 5-year prison sentence, but 5 years in that prison was literal hell. And you changed a man. People are so disingenuous today, like gay people screaming pro-Palestine. Right. Like how does that fucking make sense? Very little about the entire system of government is in the spirit of how it started. Much of government, including the penal. Yeah, right. It's a business and for profit. Although the idea of our prison system is the idea was good. The execution is fucked up. And even more than that, we fucked it up on a lot of levels. And one of them is that we have so many things that we want to lock people up for, or fine people, or whatever. It's like, why are we fining people for riding a bicycle on a sidewalk? What the fuck is that about? Or why do we fine and confiscate a kid's dirt bike if he rides it on the street in his cul-de-sac and he's not out on a main road? If all he's doing is riding up and down his block on his dirt bike or a mini bike or something like that, like we all did growing up, why today are they going to write the kid a ticket? His parents are going to have to come to court and they're going to confiscate the kid's dirt bike. Why is that? Why does prison need to be a resort? Why is it not hard? If you did the crime, it needs to suck. It needs to be something that you never ever want to deal with again, and that you may not make it out of alive. That's my own opinion. And now we've gone from the liberal, hey, we need prison reform, to full on conservative. It needs to suck, and I don't care about your human rights while you're a prisoner. Right. Like during COVID, finding people for literally walking across the park in open air. Right. But it's and that was okay. And it could be argued successfully and defended, I think, pretty well that was an extenuating circumstance. It was a troubled time, blah, 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 all that stuff. I'm talking about when I was a kid. Literally any kid with a mini bike or a go-kart rode it in their neighborhood, and nobody died and nobody cared. And the biggest thing you had to be concerned about was the kids stealing the gas out of your car at night because they didn't have enough money. They didn't have 10 cents to go buy a gallon of gas. That was the biggest thing that you had. That was the biggest problem that you had with that system. Now you don't even have that because kids can't steal the gas out of cars. So their parents have to buy them the gas. So if they don't have gas, like when my kid's mini bike runs out of gas, is there any gas? He has to wait until I go get it. If he's out there riding on the street or rides around the block, chances are if a cop sees him, he's going to get a ticket. The bike's going to get confiscated, and I'm going to have to go take my son to court and stand there for sit in court half a day to stand up for 15 minutes and pay a damn fine. And that's that's a stupid thing. Why are we doing that? It's not correct. It's not really meant to be. Right. So let's see, like most of our policy and institutions, none of them are instituted to be permanent. It's an organizational initiative. Initiation was to solve an active problem. Right. And that's true. And a lot of the problem was after Civil War to deal with soldiers that had committed various They didn't call them war crimes at that point, but various war crimes, right? Grandma Martha did not like the noise generated by small engine powered vehicles. Right. So she told Aunt Karen, and Karen called the cops. That's right. And then, of course, they get left in place. Guys, I've got a hard out at 2 o'clock. It is now 2 o'clock, and I am out. You guys, you don't have to stay here, but are you? Well, pardon me. You don't have to go home. You can't stay here. I am still learning how to redirect people to other streams, or I'd look around for someone to send you guys to. Have a great rest of your day. I will see you tomorrow night at 8:05 on the button as normal, and we're going to have some great conversations for tomorrow. If you have questions, prep them up. Right, as Right Guy says, thanks for answering questions. I will always answer questions. I never avoid anything, and I will answer them honestly. Anyway, you guys have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your day, and make it a great one. No matter how bad it starts out sucking, you can always make it better. With that, I'm out. See you guys.